Going to take 134 years for women and men to be fully equal. Last year, 1 out of every new business that was created by a woman. And women are feeling confident to move forward. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sабін Фрейзер, and I am the representative for UN Women in Ukraine. And I'm very happy to be here today to talk about gender equality and particularly the gender pay gap. I was very lucky to grow up in New York City in the United States. And I was very lucky to be able to have the United Nations a few blocks away from where I lived. Because of that, and also because of my family, my friends around me, I always wanted to work at the United Nations. So in many ways, I was able to achieve the dream that I had as a child, to work at the UN, to try to improve the situation, particularly for women and girls. So for me, that was something that I already aspired to do, already wanted to do, starting around 13 years old. I decided that I wanted to work internationally. So that's how my first dream as a child brought me today to Ukraine. So it's true that here in Ukraine, I'm very fortunate to be leading a team of about 50 women and men who are all working together to advance gender equality. So in one way, this is really a privilege to be able to have this kind of a job and to be able to be working with people that are passionate about what they do. And by the way, I think that's also very important, is to be committed and to be interested in what one is doing. So I have 2 children who are both teenagers, and I have a husband. And unfortunately, they are not allowed to come and live with me here in Ukraine while I work here. So they have stayed back in Turkey, in Istanbul. And I would really say that what allows me to have that life, to on one hand work here and be able to fulfill myself professionally, but on the other hand also have a family and children with their own needs and their own requirements, that balance is really possible because of the fact that I have a husband who is taking care of those children while I am here. So the World Economic Forum calculated this year that it's going to take 134 years for women and men to be fully equal. So it's not going to be my daughter who's going to be equal to her brother. It's not even going to be my granddaughter. It's going to take up to 5 generations to achieve equality. So when we talk about gender inequality, we look at different things. For example, women's access to education, which around the world, and particularly in Ukraine, has improved significantly, and we're pretty much on equality when it comes to education. Access to health, access to economics, and access to political power. And so what unfortunately we see is that women do not have the same access as men when it comes to economic life. There are very less women when it comes to the boards of companies, for example. We also see that there are less women that are employed. In Ukraine, only half of women of working age work. Since the start of the large-scale aggression in 2022, we see that the percentage of women working is now less than 50% of those who are employed. So the pay gap is the situation where men are paid more than women for the same type of work. And what we see in Ukraine is that this pay gap is approximately 18%. So approximately, if you say that a man has a salary of 1,000 hryvnias, a woman will have a salary of approximately 814 hryvnias. So that may not seem like so much for one day, but of course this accumulates. So over the course of a month of salary, or the course of a year, or over the course of an entire career, what you clearly see is that women are paid less than men, which means that they can save less than men, they can spend less than men. And this is what we call the gender pay gap. Overcoming the gender pay gap will require an all-of-society approach. So it'll be necessary for the government, for business, for civil society, and for all of the population to work together on overcoming the gender pay gap. Unfortunately, the UN estimates that at this pace, it will take 257 years to overcome this gap. The government of Ukraine is very much committed to overcoming the gender pay gap, and last year passed a national strategy for overcoming the gender pay gap. In addition to that, the government is aware of the problem and is also has launched a new campaign, particularly the Ministry of Economy, together with UN Women, together with the First Lady of the country, have launched this new campaign, Of Course You Can. I also want to talk about the role of business. Here in Ukraine, we have 37 private and public companies that have joined on to something called the Women Empowerment Principles. They commit to ensure that there's no harassment, that there's no gender discrimination, that there's no discrimination in the field of pay. We also have an instrument called gender audits, which allows companies to look at their own procedures, their own processes, and to see if there's any areas where actually inequality has creeped in. So, for example, these gender audits allow companies to really calculate, to investigate if they're paying men and women equal pay for equal work. There's very often this idea that women are good for certain kinds of jobs and men are good for others. So it's very important to break down these stereotypes. In Ukraine today, there is a huge need for women to join the workforce, while men are fighting on the front lines. So one thing that we have started doing together with the Ministry of Transport in Ukraine is a new project called She Drives. She Drives is a project to encourage women to start driving, and particularly the project is starting now with women as bus drivers. So this is already breaking down a stereotype. To be able to see women driving buses or women driving tractors, women driving big machines, this is something that's unexpected still in Ukraine. Of course, the Ukraine is currently now on a very important journey to join the European Union. And this is something that I think the Ukrainian government, but also the Ukrainian people, are very dedicated to try to join the European Union as quickly as possible. The European Union and European member states have already in place different legislation, different rules on trying to close the gender pay gap. So this is one of the founding principles and rules of the European Union, that there has to be equality between men and women in pay. So as Ukraine moves forwards towards EU membership, Ukraine will be including laws and policies that come from the European Union, and it will be very important for Ukraine to also take in this legislation, these laws, on equality of pay and on pay transparency. So this is something that UN Women is working very closely with the government, with the Ministry of Economy, and other government bodies. Well, I think that the main message to women is, of course you can. Of course you can get engaged, either in the economy or in politics. Unfortunately, because of all the gender stereotypes, because of the lack of support that many women feel, women lose their confidence, and women sometimes wonder, can I go out and do this? Can I try for that job? Can I try to get involved in political life? Here in Ukraine, we have seen how women have been at the forefront and have led the response after Russia's large-scale invasion of the country. We have seen how women have taken the lead in women's rights organizations. They've taken the lead organizing in their community. They've taken the lead in their municipal councils. Last year, 1 out of every new business that was created by a woman. So we're clearly seeing that women are taking the lead, that under these extremely difficult conditions that we are seeing in the country, women are leading and women are feeling confident to move forward. So that would be basically my message, is that of course you can, of course women can, and it's important that women feel that confidence.